Hello, everybody. Welcome to our May month's webinar. It's called Play On, Succeeding in Sports and Recreation with Hearing Loss. First of all, my name is Marta, and I am the coordinator of education here with the Canadian Hard of Hearing Association, Newfoundland and Labrador. We have exciting panel of presenters today. So first up are Fallon and Wade McLaughlin. Fallon McLaughlin is a deaf athlete, student, and volunteer from Newfoundland and Labrador who has represented Canada internationally in volleyball. She was selected to the Canadian Deaf Women's National Volleyball Team at just 14 years old, very impressive, and has since competed at the Pan American Games in Brazil and the Deaf Olympics in Japan. Fallon has received numerous athletic and leadership awards and is currently training for future international competitions, including the 2029 Deaf Olympics in Athens. Alongside her athletic achievements, she is an advocate and mentor for athletes with hearing loss and is passionate about helping others succeed in sport and beyond. And joining her is her father, Wade McLaughlin, and he's a longtime supporter throughout her athletic journey. And Wade has helped navigate communication access, advocacy, and inclusion in sport environments and has traveled internationally with Team Canada as a chaperone and support person. And together they bring valuable perspectives on the opportunities and challenges of participating in sport with hearing loss, both as an athlete and a family. So welcome, Wade and Fallon. And I'll pass the microphone to you, and please take it on and tell us a little bit about yourself and your experiences.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'll just give you a bit of background on Fallon. She was diagnosed at 18 months with auditory neuropathy. And how we discovered at the time, she was a little girl who loved big, very loud dogs, was not afraid of them. She loved riding the vacuum cleaner. We now know in hindsight for the vibration, she liked that. And she started, whenever we were speaking with her, asking a question, turning completely around, and she was favoring one ear. So when we took her to the hospital, they completed all the tests, including an ABR, and discovered that she did, in fact, have auditory neuropathy. And for her, that's like hearing, but on the wrong station. So there's a lot of static and everything. After discussing everything with the doctors and the audiologist, we decided that cochlear implants were the best medical option for her. We went with bilateral cochlear implants from a company called Medel. They were the best suited to her condition. And 200 to 300 doctor's appointments and speech therapy lessons later, she started kindergarten on time and she hit the ground running, and we haven't looked back since. She is completely deaf, but with the implants, she would hear in a normal hearing range in quiet settings without a lot of interference and background noise, as per the nature of the technology. Yeah, Fallon was introduced to volleyball in grade 7, and maybe she could tell you a little bit about that, her first experience with volleyball.
Well, I first started in grade 7 at Beaconsfield, and they had tryouts, and Dad encouraged me to try out. And I guess when I first did it, I didn't like it because I ended up hurting my finger. And you know how parents can be. They were a bit like, oh no, you're not doing it. Like, very overprotective about it, but Dad encouraged me to continue. So then I did, and I'm really glad he did push me to continue with that because here I am, and I love the sport volleyball, and it's really like
Yeah, changed her life.
changed my life.
And as a parent, any parent, of course, is hyper protective of their children. And anybody out there who has a children with any extra challenges or barriers, they're probably even more hyper protective. They bubble wrap their children. And of course, the big thing with anything like that is any research that you read up on is you really want to try and have your children fit in. You want them to be accepted and to lead as normal a life with those challenges that they can. From a very young age, I think education and we learn as we go. Sadly, we have great support systems here, but Fallon hasn't met a lot of people with the same condition or in the sport world until she did at 14 travel to Alberta and try out for the Canadian Deaf Women's Volleyball team. And then it opened up a whole new world to her of women at various ages who'd gone through all the things that she was just starting to go through. And me as a parent too. They gave me a lot of education and insight and some things that we felt were very exclusive to her. We realized there's a whole world out there who are going through it and who have gone through it. And we received great advice and how to deal with it and support and help her. Um, Again, being a hearing impaired athlete and playing both on hearing teams and deaf teams, they're both very different. The sport itself is based highly on visible cues and reading body language so that you're preparing for what the other athlete that you're seeing is doing so that you can prepare your body, say, to receive the attack from the opposite side and when you're defending your court. But it also does rely heavily on communication. So again, in a loud gym, in that sort of environment, it does pose challenges with the assisted hearing device, the implants. And then there are other challenges when she's playing in a deaf environment because you don't have the noise cues
or the communication.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, how did you, Fallon, yourself and Wade, you for Fallon, have to advocate for her communication needs with coaches, teammates, officials, and how has it been different in different settings, in the provincial, on a provincial level, on national level, and now on international level? And if you could elaborate a little bit on that.
I find the coaches have been really helpful. Like they'll always make sure they're facing me so I can lip read and understand what they're saying. And they would always pull me to the side and clarify to make sure I understood what they were saying and make sure I understood everything. I do have to say that it is quite different going from a hearing stage to a not hearing stage when it comes to volleyball because like with hearing you're able to communicate and hear the sound of the ball and like everybody knowing who's getting what. Whereas with no hearing, you have to find another way to communicate and know who's getting what ball. And like Dad said, a lot of eye cues and like reading the ball and like you don't see it come over after like it's already over the net because like there's blockers at the net and you can't see and stuff. And I really rely on like hearing the sound when like the ball hits and I know it's coming. So it's definitely a challenge on both sides for sure.
And I think, like we said earlier, the number one thing is educating people on hearing loss and what it's like to be in an environment, a hearing environment, when you do have hearing loss, especially like a gym. And even the coaches, if they haven't coached a deaf or hard of hearing athlete before, education and describing to them. I did meet a coach who herself was hard of hearing, and she had a great idea. She had all her team wear earplugs
so they could experience it too, because a lot of people don't understand what we go through until they experience it themselves.
And there's even the social aspect of it, especially being a teenager and teenage girls. When we go away to a tournament, we just returned this morning at 6 a.m. We were away for the last week at the Canadian Club National Championships. Exhausting for me, exhausting for Fallon, the athlete, and especially when you're in that gym all day long and you really have to focus with all the background noise. Sometimes when the girls go to bond or sit and eat together, Fallon actually physically and mentally needs to come just sit with me and take her ears off because it's so much more work for her to focus and hear in that environment because she's, the depth of field, she's hearing everything and she has to really focus where the noise is coming from. So many whistles going off. And then we have to let the coach know that she's not being antisocial, that she is a team player. She just, with her condition, physically and mentally needs that downtime or that break away from the girls. And hopefully the coach will explain that in a way that's respectful to them to help them understand, hey, she's not, not being a part of the team. This is just what she needs. And again, that whole education side, whenever we face challenges, we try to meet them with educating people because most of the problems are come from not understanding the challenges, especially where she does actually hear with the implants. So people don't understand that she is deaf and that this assisted hearing is not perfect. And you can go online and there are many videos that show how sound is through a cochlear implant. And it's very different, especially music, which is a lot of different sounds on many different planes. It sounds so different. It's not like we hear it. And many people with cochlear implants don't tend to like music for that fact, or, but Fallon is very fortunate. She has liked music. She's taken piano. She's taken voice.
I've done the
Uh,
flute, like the
yes.
school band.
Yeah. So it's not a usual, everybody's journey is different. But yeah, if you listen to that, like to us, the first time I heard it, I cried because it does sound kind of robotic or artificial sometimes. But her being deaf from birth, she knows no different. I do think like post-lingually deaf people have helped to map the hearing aids and everything so it sounds more like natural hearing and how things should really sound. So just educating the coach, the teammates, the parents. Is sometimes when Fallon has had the opportunity to go away, people find it hard. They don't understand that she could be taking an opportunity from them. But again, it's two worlds. It's the deaf volleyball world and it's her hearing world, and she's been fortunate enough to be successful in both.
That sounds really cool. And yes, it does put a lot of pressure on the parent and on the child to become their own advocate and teach people what it's like to have hearing loss. Because especially you are so articulate and you don't, like people say, you don't look disabled. So we often say hearing loss is an invisible disability, and you being so smart and articulate, and speaking for yourself, people don't realize the challenges that still come with hearing loss. Even though you can hear with the help of the devices and speak, it's still not the same as having natural hearing.
Well,
Yeah.
little things, and especially when traveling young internationally or whatever, Fallon could be in the shower, in the bathroom, and if the other girls decide to leave, if there ever was a fire alarm or anything, she's completely
Mm.
deaf. She wouldn't be able to, so she had to have a buddy. There was an incident in uh, Brazil when we were at the Pan American Games, and the girls were in the room and they had slept in. They did have their alarms, but they didn't go off on their arm.
And we had no way to get
And
in.
no, and the hotel, of course, was not willing to let strangers into their room, even their parents or whatever, because one of the women was in her 20s, and there had been no protocol for that, so that was good. It had never happened before. The athletes were usually up and had their breakfast, and we had a game pending, and it was a lot. So again, it's just a learning journey like anything. There's different things. Sometimes you don't think about all of that. But there are definitely different challenges for deaf athletes than hearing athletes.
Speaking
Yeah.
of that, because I know you are on the deaf team now, and it's also a different world for you because technically, without your devices, you are deaf, but you probably don't exist without your devices in regular life very often. So just maybe talk about that experience and what does it mean to be on the deaf team, and what are the different rules, and how is it different for you to play on the different teams, hearing team and the deaf team, and also the social aspect, because you did talk about, not fitting in with the hearing um, athletes, but how is it with people who are deaf and probably use sign language and so on? So just tell us a little bit about your experience.
Well, I find when I play with the deaf team, I do find that a lot of us have more things in common. So it's definitely more connection in that way, and people get along more because they relate to each other. And I find it's also very different compared to hearing because you don't hear, and they're very like big on the deaf culture, and like there's no judgment. It's like a free place, and everyone is alike, and it's just very big on the deaf culture, and like they have rules where it's
I find
like
that they're very patient with their communication.
yes,
Like you could ask them to repeat themselves, and some people sign, some people lip read. Today we're fortunate with their telephones; they'll text back and forth, and they'll read
yeah,
off the screen with one another. Everybody's really eager. Fallon has started to do some sign language. She's very good at lip reading.
yes.
So she uses whatever means. And as she's exposed more and more, all those things are growing and she's embracing it more. Here in Newfoundland, with our culture and in our social circle, we don't have it. So she does rely mostly on her assisted hearing devices. But it was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life to see everybody was just so caring and understanding and patient, and like, again, I think it's just education. When she's with a group of hearing teens, and sometimes she has to ask them to repeat themselves, they get very frustrated and they're like, I'm not repeating myself, or they'll walk away from her or
because they
whatever.
don't
They don't
realize.
want to, they don't have the same patience because they don't struggle with communication. Whereas in the deaf community, she could ask a question to someone 2 or 3 times and they're very patient in repeating it and trying to get her to understand what they're saying, because they too understand the difficulty in the communication. And it's just so nice to see that camaraderie and support and empathy for the challenges that they're going through and how much they've accomplished to put themselves out there, because they all do go back to a world that's largely hearing, and so they totally understand that, and that's why they want to build up strong, resilient athletes to be positive role models of the deaf community and deaf culture in the hearing world.
That sounds really cool. And I'm so glad you have this experience and you have that community through your sport. Because I'm sure not everybody, people who are not involved in sport or even involved, but not at that level, right? They don't have the, because we don't have the population, unfortunately, to experience that deaf culture and deaf community. So my last question to you, both of you, would be what kind of advice would you give to young athletes with hearing loss and to their parents when they're joining sports and just starting out?
You go first.
Okay, so we have been at events where parents of very young children who are just recently diagnosed with as hearing impaired or deaf. Fallon is a spokesmodel for Medell, the company that she works for, and we've been on several webinars with families who want to talk about our experience. And the again, the knowledge that they don't have yet and the fear and the emotion, it's so powerful because there's so much unknown, and they're just so happy to see a success story, because for lack of a better word, everybody wants their child to have a normal life, whatever that is, but I guess one without too many challenges, and ones where they are accepted and they're happy and healthy. And so with a diagnosis like that, again, if you're not familiar with the hearing aids or the sign language and the speech and how they can lead a great and fruitful life with well-rounded everything. I know when we first found out Fallon was deaf, we thought, like, will she have friends? Will she have a boyfriend? Will she ever get married? Will she be able to work? Will she, have a job? All these questions. And it's really overwhelming. And even when my parents first met her, and they were older, in their 80s, they had said she's just like a normal child, except she doesn't hear. And she really is. And hearing is not as common as sight. And we've often had to say, like, there's been children who've been mean to Fallon or discriminated about her hearing or made fun of her hearing aids at a younger age. And they had glasses, and we would explain to them, like, you wear glasses to see, and she wears her assisted hearing to hear. So it's no different. I just think it's just not as common. So my advice would just be support your children. The sky's the limit. The technology, the great support that's out there, and just educate people all you can. And if they're willing to listen, explain to them how it really is. Um, you know, Again, it's opened a whole world. It's been something, this journey would not be possible other than the fact that she is a deaf athlete. And so it's been a very positive experience out of something that initially we felt was kind of negative or challenging. So we've, life kind of gave us lemons. We've made lemonade out of it. We've had some
Yeah.
great experiences. She's made some great friends, and she's blessed to be part of two great worlds, the hearing world and the
Yeah,
deaf
it's
world.
definitely given me more opportunities as well. And I just have to say that, like, a lot of people will think like being deaf is gonna affect you in ways. Yes, there is gonna be challenging, like, challenges and stuff, but it doesn't make you incapable. It means you experience the world differently, and like you can't be scared to ask yourself like questions and stand up for yourself and learn at your own pace and time too, because everyone here is equal, and the confidence that you'll build will give you what you need, and like along the way you know that you deserve to be in a room as equal as anyone else in the room, and everyone has their own problems, whether you know behind doors or open doors.
Right.
Thank you. That's beautiful. And you're a testament to that, the limitations are only what we ourselves impose on ourselves, or the society imposes on us, right? Your disability doesn't necessarily limit you, or it's the society and the expectations and the accommodations that are not provided that limit you in what you can do. So thank you. And that is great. I would say, would you be willing if somebody had any questions in the future, because this session is being recorded and will be shared also probably with the students later. If they had any questions, they would be able to contact us. I might forward them to you if they want your input or any advice from you. Would you be willing to answer those questions in the
Yes,
future? Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Thank you so much. And anybody, if you have any questions for Fallon or Wade, please put them in the question and answer section. And we're going to move on to our next presenter. And it's Amy Parsons. Amy is originally from Twillingate, Newfoundland. Amy grew up with severe to profound hearing loss, wearing hearing aids, and now using a cochlear implant. Despite challenges, she actively participated in sports and recreation throughout her childhood, building confidence, resilience, and lifelong passion for staying active. And now Amy is a recreational therapy worker with 15 years of experience with Newfoundland Health Services, currently working at the Mental Health and Addiction Center here in St. John's. She brings both personal and professional insight into hearing loss, communication strategies, self-advocacy, and creating inclusive recreational environments. Welcome, Amy, and the floor is yours.
So thank you, Marta, for the introduction. An excellent job to Fallon and Wade. I gotta say, Fallon, you are a inspiration. So Marta already introduced me, so I will get right into it. So growing up with hearing loss. I was diagnosed with severe profound deafness at the age of 14 months old due to the measles. I wore two hearing aids until I was 20 years old. Then when I met the criteria, I got the cochlear implant in 1 year. I was taught by my parents to communicate before school age with numerous hours of hard work, learning how to listen and talk, as well as speech therapy. I am an avid lip reader. My parents were school teachers and chose to keep me in the regular school system instead of going to the school for the deaf. I had a fantastic audiologist and itinerant teacher throughout my school years who helped support me. I've always had a great support system, which allowed me to participate in any extracurricular activities and team sports with confidence, allowing me the ability to grow, learn accessibility, accommodations, and advocacy. I was a very active child, often wanting to be outside, doing leisure activities or playing games or sports. Growing up in Twillingate, a small town from a rural area before cell phones and Wi-Fi, it was easy to connect with the community and spend a lot of time being involved. Many people in my community knew about my hearing loss, wanted to be inclusive, and were supportive, and that helped me to advocate for my communication needs growing up. I was involved in a lot of recreation and sports around the community and in school. I participated in many leisure activities such as ball hockey, badminton, canoeing, kayaking, ping pong, skiing, soccer, softball, snowshoeing, swimming, and tennis. I took every opportunity I could to be active and have fun. I played competitive sports in basketball, figure skating, and volleyball. So here is a visual before I get into the challenges and the communication strategies. This is a visual to show you that hearing loss may sound choppy and mumbled. As a person with hearing loss, I must be focused and listening to be able to hear most words that were being said or read lips when possible. When there's barriers, such as noise or people wearing masks, it can disrupt communication and result in some words not being heard, therefore leaving us to fill in the gaps. Especially when participating in recreation and sports, it can be harder to comprehend and hear what's going on during the activity in the game. When I wore hearing aids, it was harder to hear speech sounds, and some sounds were muffled, which is why I relied heavily on practicing any skills as often as I could and making use of visual cues. Hearing aids help to amplify the sound. However, with my cochlear implant, I can hear the speech sounds much better, and sounds are clearer, easier to distinguish. With the cochlear implant, I heard sounds that I did not hear before with the hearing aids, such as the buzzers going off, the clock ticking, the referee whistle, the start of drills or music, etc. Keep in mind, though, that anyone with hearing loss may hear differently than someone else with hearing loss. Having hearing loss changes how these individuals will compete during activities and gain, learn and train, and stay safe. Hearing loss does not affect the person's ability to participate. It improves awareness. So challenges of hearing loss in recreation and sports. So these challenges are also challenges that I experienced myself. Individuals with hearing loss may attend the activity or game, but have difficulty following along and have little understanding of what is happening. They may feel anxious, confused, frustrated, which will affect their confidence and their motivation. They may be afraid of not hearing correctly and hold back their full potential. They may bluff or pretending to hear and possibly make mistakes when dishonest or unsure about what they can or cannot hear. They may depend or rely on others for communication, but communication must be effective. Lack of or poor communication can create anxiety, confusion, embarrassment, etc., especially with teammates during play. They may misunderstand verbal cues and instructions from coaches and referees. They may not hear referee calls, certain singles, or whistles. They may not hear buzzers or warning calls during the play. They may be unable to stay on beat or timing during the play or program. It may be hard to hear instructions from the coach or official, especially in a large or noisy environment. Background music and echoing voices can make it harder. Missing important cues or directions can lead to confusion or frustration. Some people may feel left out of group conversation during the activity or game and not partake. Participants may worry about their safety if they cannot hear changes or warning during a play or routine. These challenges can make recreation and sports less enjoyable for hard of hearing individuals and may even lead them to avoiding it altogether. I have two slides of pictures for us to take a look at. The first slide I have here shows pictures that may not be accommodating for those with hearing loss. So as you can see in those four pictures, the ability to see visual cues is not there. So the people are standing behind or they have their face covered. The second slide shows pictures that are accommodating for those with hearing loss. So as you can see, the people are standing in front of the person and face and lips are visible to see as well. It shows why effective communication is important during recreation and sports. So communication strategies for hearing loss in recreation and sports. I will go over a few categories. Open communication, the first and most important. Educate and inform coaches, instructors, peers, teammates, and officials about the hearing loss and specific needs prior to the activity or game so they can accommodate you through different communication methods. Use a buddy system. They can repeat instructions or give an alert when something changes. Positioning. Place oneself close to coaches and teammates when possible to maximize auditory and visual input. Demonstrations and gestures can be done to show what to do next. Face to face, the hard of hearing player will be able to lip read if they can see their coaches, referees, or teammates. Coaches can also place themselves in specific locations to ensure the hard of hearing player can see them. Tactile cue. Coaches can do demonstrations by guiding the hard of hearing individual's body movements. Referees and teammates can use taps on the shoulders to gain attention to single instructions, plays, or warning. Visual cues and signals. Make eye contact and use hand gestures to get their attention. Use graphic elements and images to communicate drill, play, and other information. Cue cards, diagram, flags, flashing lights, scoreboards, whiteboards are examples. Replace buzzers or whistles with colored flags or strobe lights. Review tactics in a quiet space using diagrams or whiteboards before the game or during the break. Use backboard lights or scoreboard for game timing. Some leagues will adjust rules accordingly to allow visual start singles and to provide visual refereeing singles. Written tool. Give information in a clear, concise manner and provide clarification. Forms, instructions, letter, memo, names of team, policies and rules, signage, and tournament guidelines. Assistive technology. Captioning can be provided at some events. Use FM systems or microphone that transmits the coach's voice directly to the hard of hearing individual's device. Bluetooth-enabled devices can help with direct audio streaming as well. Digital tool. Use vibration alerts from smartwatches. Utilize apps for real-time speech-to-text that can assist with group conversation or instructions in a noisy environment. Protect your devices. Use clips, headbands, or sweatbands to keep listening devices dry from sweat and secure in place when moving. Some hearing devices have waterproof accessories. And lastly, safety measures. It's important for hearing participants to be prepared with any instructions or rules and visual cues to help prevent accidents or injuries. It's important to keep the hard of hearing individual or player in the loop during the game. It's also important to be aware of any environmental hazards and warning, so to be prepared of a possibility of a fire, so to know ahead of time what they may have to do. So for beginners, it will be helpful for them to start playing recreational sports in a familiar environment with family and fun before joining competitive, intense league and team. Take the time to learn the basic rules and practice the skill. Ask any questions and explore the surroundings. Determine where communication barriers may need to be accommodated to ensure that the activity, game, or sport is being played correctly and fairly. So I will go through the different types of sports. So in artistic sports, these activities often rely on hand gestures or visual cue. In dance and yoga, the instructor can demonstrate the moves in front of them. In figure skating, a coach can use hand gestures to signal when the music starts and ends. My figure skating coaches made me practice my skating programs repeatedly, step by step, until I found the right pace and speed to keep up with the beat of the music. My coaches also picked music that had loud beats that were easier to distinguish. For combat sports, such as wrestling or judo, a coach or official might bang or tap the mat to provide a tactile go signal or use visual commands instead of audio. When I had to do a wrestling session as part of my physical education program, I wore a headband over my cochlear implant to prevent it from breaking or falling off. For independent sports, such as cycling, running track, swimming, visual cues can be used for starts, such as flags or flashing lights, rather than relying on a certain gun. My swimming instructors will always give me preparation before getting into the pool when I still have my hearing device on. When I was in the pool without my device, they would demonstrate the movements in front of me and use hand gestures to tell me what to do next. For team sports, use flags or hand signals to indicate referee calls or whistle. In basketball, you can use visual cues to signal the end of a quarter. You can also use backboard lightning for store clock. In soccer, you can use the color flags for referee call and face-to-face communication for strategy. Use the buddy system to notify or tap you for any calls or changes during play. When playing basketball, volleyball, or other competitive sport, my coaches will always notify the referees that there was a hard of hearing player on the team. That allowed for better communication, fairness amongst the players, and kept me aware of what was happening during the game. The importance of accommodations and self-advocacy. Accommodations allow recreation and sports to be more inclusive and safer, to help those with hearing loss to communicate effectively, compete and play fairly, and understand instructions, rules, and signals. This involved adapting environment to ensure full participation, removing communication barriers, and making use of the communication strategies. Make accommodations when and where necessary. Get closer to the hard of hearing person, get their attention, let your face and lips be seen, eliminate the background noise, improve lighting. Communicate through a variety of cues to fill in the gap. Body language, expression, gestures, move your mouth more to emphasize words, write it down, use technology available to you, captioning, listening system, pocket talker, microphone. Self-advocacy is such an important factor in succeeding with hearing loss and gaining independence as well. This allows the hard of hearing individual to educate others about their communication needs, to identify their strengths and weaknesses, and to create inclusive environments within recreation and sports. It is extremely important for participants and players with hearing loss to inform their peers, coaches, instructors, and teammates about their hearing loss and communication needs, along with suggesting solutions to make the environment accessible. Explain general communication strategies prior to starting an activity or game for easier flow of conversation and fairness. When an individual with hearing loss is not understanding what is being said or what is going on due to a communication barrier, that can cause mistakes and misunderstanding. This requires effective communication, skill, and teamwork to ensure the hard of hearing individual is playing correctly and fairly.
Thank you, Amy. That was excellent and so much useful information. We gave us really good tips for different types of sports and different types of accommodations that can be helpful. And similarly to Fallon and Wade, if anybody has any questions for Amy in the future, you can email us at info@chha-nl.ca. Thank you so much for presenting to us and sharing your experiences. And like I said, we have some resources for people. If you have small children, we offer a guidebook for parents of newly diagnosed children with hearing loss. And it can be downloaded at our website. And there is some information about recreational sports as well as other very useful information. So if you can't find it online, please reach out to us and we can share it with you. Everybody, thank you for participating in our May month session and all the best to you. See you next time.